guys, and welcome to our first episode of our new podcast, Explicitly Spoiled. I'm Alexandra,
And I'm Monica. Hi.
and our aim with the podcast is really to bring you a few moments of joy and nourishment with our episodes, where we talk all things yoga, wellness, friendship, life, all with a bit of spice and sass. We want to get as many people as we can to try yoga and really indulge in self-care and life's little joys on the regular. So we hope our talks feel like a relaxed conversation between friends, rather than a formal lecture on anything really. We release a new episode every Friday. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. So come hang with us weekly for a few moments of bliss.
And we also like to talk a lot, of course, and share our opinions on things. And what better way to do that than through a podcast, right? So here, no topic is off topic. I can go on with a little bit about my career as a yoga teacher. I started practicing in 2010. I graduated from my first official yoga teacher training course, certified by Yoga Alliance USA in 2015. And then I did another 200-hour yoga teacher training course the next year. The two of them complemented each other quite significantly. The first one was more energy based, the second one was more based on physicality. So that's why I got a thorough and deeper and better understanding of yoga. Yeah, so I think that's how my story as a yoga teacher started and continues even today, of course, and in the future.
Yeah, that's nice. And I have to say, I have no yoga teacher training. I am a practitioner of yoga, and I'll talk more about how I got into that and what made me try it in the first place. But just a few more words about me. I am a program manager by day, and really joyfulness aficionado by all of the time, pretty much. Um so I think we'll have these two maybe different perspectives, right, on yoga and how we approached it and what it means to us, based on one of us being a certified amazing teacher and the other just listening to YouTube classes. So yeah.
Yeah.
um so I think before we get into really yoga and how we started and what it means to us, we wanted to give a definition of what yoga is in our minds. um I mean, if you search on Google, right, you'll get a million definitions of yoga,
Mm.
I guess. And in simple
Yeah.
words, you get that is a mind and body practice, can build strength, flexibility. Um, I don't know, it may help manage pain, reduce stress. There's various styles, right? And you get that is an ancient practice, and it's probably coming from India. So um, that's all great. And whilst all true, of course, and I think it can help with all of this, yoga for me is really your journey to yourself, heart to heart talk with yourself. And before you click off the podcast and think this is completely woo woo, I would ask you to take a moment and ask yourself, how well do you know yourself? And when's the last time you truly asked and answered what you really want and work to get that? Um, so if you already know this in your heart of hearts, then you maybe already are doing yoga, or some sort of self-care, well-being, meditation, active practice. But if not, I'm here to tell you that yoga is your path to that, to truly discovering yourself and having that close, loving relationship with yourself.
Mm.
And if you don't believe me, I challenge you to truly try it for a bit and see how that makes you feel. where you were, before you started and where you are in a few weeks after. Um, I think we all really owe it to ourselves to discover who we are and get after what we want and need. We owe it to ourselves to be content, to find happiness in this one amazing life we've been given. Um, and, to be content, to stop forever chasing a feeling that you can never seem to reach. um, you have to first be able to sit in silence, I think. The also uncomfortable silence that we are all so hard trying to escape by any means of distraction these days, right? Um, sit in with it enough that you find the answers to the restlessness, to who you really are, how to reach, a state of bliss at the end of the day. And that, I think, is what yoga ultimately helps you with. It gets you to sit in that silence just a little bit more comfortable each day until you're so relaxed there that you don't even realize it happened, basically. Um, so yeah, I think that's what yoga is for me. And I know how it sounds, right? I really do. I was there 7 years ago. Before I tried it, I was totally skeptical, absolutely mocking the practice all the time. Every time a friend or colleague would mention it, I'd be like, yeah, right. And then you stretch your hips and you start crying because you release the tension and emotions. I'm like, sure, come on, give me a break. This is nonsense, right? So I was the embodiment of a non-believer, and was absolutely sure I wouldn't like it. That's before I tried it, and it really then, once I did, snuck up on me and turned me into a big advocate. So if I became that person, um that I used to laugh in people's faces when they even mentioned yoga, um I challenge you to give it a go and try it. And there's a lot of styles out there. I think there's one definitely for you. And I dare you to prove me wrong on this one. So that's kind of what I think yoga is for me. And yeah, what I feel like it brings, it's a deep sense of knowing yourself, which I think is very hard these days to get to.
It's also very hard to sit with yourself and converse with yourself, isn't it? And I think
Very.
you've put it beautifully. You've put it beautifully, and this could be the story of so many of us, right? Um, my definition is that basically yoga, I don't know, yoga to me is a method of improving one's overall health and well-being. And of course, if you look at the etymology of the word, it's about union between the mind and the body, and the breath, between the self and the others, and between the self and the universe. Um, the latest trend for quite a few years, actually, is individualism. But societally speaking, we cannot be alone. We coexist, and we, fortunately or unfortunately, need the others, and we function at our best in a society. So sometimes one could actually tell that we forget that. We actually forget that. And it's here that yoga brings us closer together, I think. So yeah, but let's not get too serious on it. Of course, all of us have nice stories about how they discovered yoga and what got us into it. Alex has her own story of being super skeptical about it and maybe rejecting it at first, right? My story is very classical in the sense that I had very serious backaches, very problematic emergency care units at my home on a regular basis. So then at some point, a neurosurgeon recommended Pilates. I moved homes. The studio was right across from my new home, and I had a subscription for Pilates classes. And at some point, the person teaching the Pilates classes, who is now a contemporary dancer and a choreographer, decided to just have a yoga class. And that's how I fell in love with it. I didn't return to Pilates ever since. I mean, not mat Pilates. I tried Pilates on the apparatus, but my point is that yoga felt amazing. It was basically the beginning of a beautiful discovery and and the beautiful friendship. So from now onwards, I have kept on practicing it from then onwards, and on teaching it, um, which is something I truly love. Alex, I don't remember ever asking you what was the year exactly when you started practicing. Do you remember? Was it 7 years ago you mentioned?
Yeah, it was 7 years, 2017.
Mm-hmm.
I started, I really discovered yoga in a very dark time of my life. I was depressed, I was burned out, I was overall pretty miserable without actually realizing it. Um, all I knew back then was that I was this ball of emotions and there was no outlet for me. There was nothing that could calm me down enough to function okay. I was also in the worst shape of my life back then. And I think yoga has this awesome power to get you back in shape in a sort of gentle, caring way without any harsh expectations, deadlines, right? It just happens, which is so nice. And yeah, I started then, I started doing it every day. And when I tell you I cried like a little bitch so many times during that practice, oh my God, like you wouldn't believe it. So
I would.
yeah, okay, well, you have a lot of experience here. Maybe the people listening might not, but yeah, I outside of the fact that I was um out of shape, right, and a complete beginner, so I wasn't getting any pose right. I was extremely nervous and anxious all the time and extremely painfully frustrated of
Mm.
my inability to sit still in any capacity or any pose without fidgeting or whatever, right? So so yeah, that was my initial experience. And I think, I realized that, as I said, yoga puts you on your path to self discovery, but it also teaches you patience and calmness and how to deal with the tough life situations, right? The truly challenging moments. Because at least for me, once you manage to sit still for 5 minutes, cross-legged, whatever, right? You feel like you can conquer the world. There's no task too big or too hard, right? Um, so yoga is so much more than a workout or a practice. I think it's a chance to transform from the inside out, right?
Mm.
And all whilst really enjoying your life a bit more with every practice. So yeah, I think it really teaches you to find the joy in everyday moments. And it becomes a part of your life and your life becomes better for it. So it, it it helps you breathe a little deeper, sit a little taller, and shine a little brighter every day. So yeah, that was yoga 7 years ago. And that's yoga to this day. And it's been 7 years, and it's still, I still find more emotions and I still find more ways to improve my life with it. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, emotions resurface on a regular basis, of course. And some of us manifest them through in different ways than others, but crying like a little bitch, as you said, is a pretty common way of manifesting one's emotions. But actually, what you shared reminds me of one thing that happened in 20. So after 2010, right? I was practicing on and off, and I ended up at this studio. It was a studio where I would go and finish my first yoga teacher training course, and I ended up attending a Yin yoga class. It was my first time I ever attended one, and the teacher said, "Listen, this is a class where poses are generally held for 3 up to 5 minutes." And I said, "No problem. That's not a challenge. I mean, 3 minutes, give me more." It was honestly one of the hardest things I ever did in my life, and I'm not even kidding. Because the mind is monkey-like, right? It does not like, and it is not able to sit still and to cling onto one thought or one anchor only. It keeps wanting to jump from thought to thought, from action to action, from regrets to future projections, and so on and so forth. So, apart from the fact that my entire body was aching, um, I had quite a difficult time trying to hold the pose for a minimum of 3 minutes. It felt like an eternity. Yeah, Yin Yoga is very special. By the way, I highly recommend it. Um, but yeah, maybe this is as good of a time as any to mention a little bit about our own practice, right, Alex, and how it looked like back then, and how it looks like now, or maybe the benefits of it. For me, I think um, the benefits that I noted throughout the years were actually first and foremost non-physical, I would say, in the sense that I had more peace of mind after practicing yoga on a constant manner, on a regular basis. And I think gained a significant amount of emotional intelligence, I dare say. But of course, apart from the mind being quieter and the emotions being held in control, um, the physical side of it was very prominent as well. Um, Skin glowing. So that this is how I found out that the thing with the yoga glow is not a legend. It's actually something that's as real as it gets, and that comes with constant practice. And of course, better digestion, and this truly helped me a lot. And less pain, less aches in joints and muscles, and so on and so forth. So basically, overall health and well-being, also in a non-physical way. Um, the benefits remained, although the practice is for sure different than it looked like at the beginning for me. Um, I don't know how you see this. Do you still practice in the same way like 7 years back, or no, not really?
No, I don't. And yeah, so, and I, fully on board with what you said on benefits. And I think I kind of talked about it already, what it was really for me and is. But yeah, absolutely agree with what you said. When I started the daily sort of practice. So I really did
Mm-hmm.
it every day for, I can't remember, years, really, like a lot of years, maybe 4 years. I started with a challenge. So there was like a yoga month challenge and it was daily. So I just
Oh.
stuck to it daily. And then I just liked it enough to continue doing it after the 1 month ended. The challenge ended there. I started vinyasa. So that is a different style where you don't need to hold the poses for too long, right? It's like a flow.
Mm.
But even so, even with that, which is not as challenging as what you mentioned, yeah, just sitting still again was in any pose. In any pose was hard also because I was out of shape, as I said, and so on. But especially in like the cross-legged position when you just kind of
Mm-hmm.
take a moment at the end or at the beginning, it was yeah, it was very challenging, very, very challenging. And I could not stop fidgeting, as I said, and it was so frustrating. So, but that taught me a lot, as I've mentioned. So yeah, I don't do it daily anymore right now, but I do it on the regular, so to speak, and it still traps me in almost daily, and it's because I really need it, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, it transformed, uh, but it's still one of my true loves to this day.
Oh, that's great to hear. I think my practice currently is very different than how it began. I was very much into very vigorous styles of yoga, such as vinyasa, and my one and only love, which is Ashtanga yoga. What I currently teach is vinyasa yoga, but it's based on the Ashtanga primary series. It's still what I love to practice every once in a while, but my practice currently is much shorter. It has a lot of meditation into it, and it also has basic stretching exercises. And I don't know if my secret, but my recipe of dealing with the pains that my corporate desk sitting job gives me is stretching a little bit and doing some small yoga poses and asanas right before work. Because if it's not the first thing I do before I start my work day, then it's very difficult for me to squeeze the yoga in throughout the day. So at the same time, that's one thing. Then the other thing is, if I don't do it the first thing in the morning, then I will have hip ache and knee ache throughout my entire day. So it's not a good idea to skip it at all. Constance is what keeps me going, and I would say discipline. Although I'm not a disciplined person, it's not easy to get myself out of bed and drag myself onto the mat or onto the carpet or whatever, but it's something that I have to do. Otherwise, it's not okay. My mental state is not okay, and my body is not okay. So definitely something to explore for our viewers and or listeners who have never tried it. I would say
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Yeah, and I used to be the same, so I would do the practice first thing in the morning. To your point, being like, if I do it first thing in the morning, I'm for sure doing it right. There's nothing that will
Right.
happen, throughout the day that will make it, how it is. You have work, you have responsibilities.
Yeah.
You end up at the end of the day, you're tired, and you don't, yoga isn't necessarily there anymore. So if you do it
Yeah.
first thing in the morning, then it doesn't matter how your day goes, it's gonna be done, right?
Mm.
So I did that for quite a while. Right now I don't so much, but I think it's because it's been so long. It is my life, right? So I don't need to not squeeze it in, but yeah, necessarily schedule it too much. It's like I need it, so I'm gonna do it. So it can be in the morning or it can be in the evening or whenever
Mm.
I feel like it and have the time.
Yeah, that's great.
uh yeah, but I totally get what you mean by the morning practice, and yeah, I've done it for quite a while to make sure I have it there.
To make sure it's there and it serves you throughout the day, right? And it's been
Exactly,
so
yeah.
many, it's been so many years, right? And one would ask, how come we have stuck to it for so long, right? Or what are the reasons why after 7 years or after 10 or 13 years we still practice yoga? But it's truly one of the most rewarding things in my life, and these are not big words, mind you, because I would say the reason I remained in yoga, and I kept on practicing yoga so far, is that yoga is one of the very, very few things in this world that embraces you exactly the way you are. There's, of course, that big saying, right? That if you can breathe, you can do yoga. So it's really irrelevant how out of shape you are, how fat or thin or sick you are, whether you're super ill or you have a headache or, I don't know, you have a prosthetic leg or whatever. You can still do yoga because fortunately, yoga is not always about physicality. The physical side of it is like what, 1/8 out of the limbs of yoga, or 15% more or less. Um, so ideally, we work with the body, but there are plenty of other types of things that can be categorized as yoga, and we can work with those for the overall health and well-being, as I mentioned earlier. So yeah, I think that's, regardless of the body shape and the mindset that you have, yoga is there for you. It's there for everybody and everybody. So that's how I see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I totally agree. And yeah, um, I think the physical side of yoga is actually the bonus, right? It's not
Oh,
the main benefit. Um, and I totally agree. If you can breathe, you can do yoga. You don't need anything to start a yoga practice, right?
no. Yeah,
You don't need
totally.
a mat. You don't need some fancy leggings. You don't need, I don't know, none of those. All you need is a willingness to show up and try. That's it. It's not to nail it, not to strike the pose. It's just show up and try. Um, and yeah, of course you can get a mat, of course you can get the fancy leggings, of course you can get all of those, but you don't need them in order to do yoga, right? That's just, if you want to feel
Mm.
fancy, whatever, you of course can get them. um Yoga teaches you kindness and acceptance of yourself and others just the way they are. So by your willingness to really just show up for yourself, I think you're, becoming a stronger version of yourself each time, and more resilient and accepting
Mhm.
of everyone else, and also willing to show up for others. So finally, from me, I'll leave you with this. Try yoga for a month. Maybe you choose to start today and pick December for your yoga month, or you choose to start the new year with it. But choose a day, choose that time, mark it down, and show up, and the rest will take care of itself. um Before we go, guys, we really, really appreciate you listening to our first episode. If you've made it this far, you're real stars. Please let us know your feedback in the comments of how you found this, if we've inspired you to try it at all. If you've never tried it and don't feel like it, what's missing for you to try it, and how we could help. um and also, what would you like to hear from us in the future? We have a lot of topics that
Mhm.
we want to address, but of course, if you're more interested in something in particular, just let us know in the comments.
Yeah, we're looking for the comments and the feedback, and we're open and happy to receive it all graciously, but please be gentle. We're only just beginning, and we intend to be serious about it and put a lot of effort into it and talk about a lot of the topics that you would like to hear on. But yeah, be kind, as it's our first time ever doing something like this. But for sure, we intend to improve as we carry on.
Yeah,
Yep,
we don't know much right now, but we will know as we move on. And really, again, thank you
exactly.
so much for, yeah, spending your precious time with us today. And we look forward to having you with us again in our next episode next Friday.
Mhm.
Till then, take care and find the joy in everyday's life.